We're up to part 5 in our series of paintball gun commentaries from Living Dead 3, shot at On Target Paintball in Pemberton, New Jersey. And again, this takes place every year in the late summer. They're hoping to move it back into September in the future years to try to give the players some cooler weather. And we're moving away from that castle that we were with in the earlier segments to the mega fortress in the backside of the field, on the backside of the complex. And this road kind of almost encircles it. I'm going to swing around here with a couple of the Brotherhood players, the blue armbands, where we're going to see this player shooting down a road line, and that effectively to the left is going to be the mega fortress, and to the right is going to go back towards the insertion points of the complex where you saw the earlier film footage.
Oh, we got friendly right underneath that.
For lack of better terms, if the blue team were to get down that road line and cut it in half, they would actually separate the red team and the mega fortress from its insertion point, effectively cutting off players from the supporting players in the mega fortress. Speaking of mega fortress, this right now is like a wood line that encircles the mega fortress. We just moved about 10 yards to the left of that player that was in that Dorito that I just featured, who was shooting that die dam, and they want to move forward, but they can't. And why? Because there's a tank up ahead, and in this particular case, it's not a tank with wheels. Most of the time you see tanks in scenario, they are on wheels, but there are also walking tanks. And unlike tanks that are on wheels, walking tanks don't usually necessarily need to have a referee with them at all times. It depends on the game producer's rules. In this case, apparently this guy can run freely. Look at his open legs at the bottom. You want to piss him off, shoot him in the legs. Now, here's the situation with the tank. You have to take them out according to the game producer's rules at each field or at each particular scenario, and you want to look up the rules before the games start. And usually players that are deep into these games, really understand these games, check out the rules in great detail so that it can really improve their game experience before they get to a scenario. And in this case, in most cases, to take a tank out, you need a law rocket, which is essentially a Nerf-fired rocket. And you have to call a player who's carrying a law rocket to come up and help you and clear a tank. Because let's face it, when somebody's a tank and they can't be taken out, they're going to hold back an entire series of players. They can move through and they can bust bunkers. They're a pain in the ass. They truly are. So it's you either love them or hate them. There's two different schools on this. There's two different camps. I won't get into the politics of tanks, but you get the point. They exist and they're here to stay. So in this case, we finally get to see the mega fortress, and again, this is on the back side of the entire complex. Behind this mega fortress is probably another 20 yards of playable field, and then it's the back side of the field. Now, as we swing around here, I'm going to try to give you one last explanation perspective without being able to put a map on the screen. Look at this guy at the tire. If you drew an imaginary line straight through him down through those woods, to the right of him would be the Brotherhood. To the left would be about 40 yards of field and a tape line, which would inevitably take you up to the insertion point. So you can see how they're almost getting cut off. There's clearly an objective going on here, and that's why it's such an important thing for those blue players to penetrate. All right, let's get on to the next part of the series.
It's too much for any man!
DangerMan is sponsored by 187pb.com, Patchwork, Inception Designs, and Ninja Paintball. And you may now support the channel by donating. Thank you.